All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong. This is In the Image Clothing Company podcast, episode 142. I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, by the way. This episode is titled Fine Wine, and we'll get into it. I'll do as I do, play a little bit of guitar, talk about each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, and then talk about where clothing sits. Okay, then our discussion will commence from that point forth, so... Okay, I like it. I like it unorthodox, non-traditional, as I say. Okay, today's one of those days, bro. I've been trying to make this video. I tried to make a different video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. I've been a little bit back and forth. I've been doing adjustments in my body, and that's been great, actually. A lot has changed. Yeah, but it's been hard, is the point. I haven't been able to actually fully get any of this done or out, if you will. So this is where we are now. Episode 142 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, titled Fine Wine. This fourth of In the Image Clothing Company, we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're all human beings on the same earth. We have one God. We discuss him as he says that he is. I never do it perfect, okay? But we do that here. So, another fourth of us in the Image Clothing Company, the main side. We address the anatomy of the human body. We allow the human body to work, coming at it through clothing. The only thing you can do for the human being is allow it to work. It's a design of a mechanical machine by God. It's placed on a rock in space known as Earth, okay? Gravity pulls on us. The center line of the human being has to remain there. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and then our jaw, which naturally stabilizes our entire body. These things are in the center of the human being, and they have to be. So clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where I'll discuss in a minute here, and be made out of 100% natural materials, because the human body is natural, and we would always only be encapsulated in natural things unless there was these modern man-made artificial things that we have nowadays, okay? So, stretch within clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work. Muscles contract only, all of them, okay? Artificial clothing materials often have stretch within them, and that just never existed even decades back before today's date. So, our feet oppose the center line, gripping arches inward, keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity. So we have to just tie our shoes even, lace our shoes correct. I'll talk about that. But we talk about eating, standing, walking, sleeping, sitting, hydration, breathing, all the things we do as a human being, and doing them naturally. The goal for all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company is natural, and that's the only thing we can be. Like I'm saying, there is only natural. Nature was here before us, and it will be here after human beings, if that was ever the case, that we were no longer here, but Earth was still. Okay, so there you go. In the Image Clothing Company, clothing will always have the best intent behind the designs, okay, to stay centered and just allow the body to work in all the ways. 100% natural materials, fit correct, okay. We have another fourth of us in the Image Clothing Company music, and I show the sizing and setup of guitars to not alter the human body. The hands that we use to play guitars only have one way they work, just as everything in the body. There's only one way the human body could ever work, being just a mechanical machine. So, the hands are actually essentially our shoulders. They travel up to the shoulder, so they need to be in their only neutral, inline tracking position. Neutral, natural, normal, synonyms within the human being. Everything within the human body has a neutral in its skeletal frame, okay, in the joints. Just as the feet are essentially our hips, okay, so we have to keep our feet just unaltered. Now, in addition to that, I also just make music, place it on in the Image Clothing Company music, and, you know, a lot of times my music is very weird, where I can play really good music if I'm trying to play music that's considered, like, good by most people, but then often I'm just, like, messing around. Okay, kind of like how the intro went. So, with the little guitar playing is what I mean. We have another fourth of us in the Image Clothing Company Poodles. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. We breed standard poodles, register them, and advocate for doing so under the American Kennel Club, giving your dog a birth certificate, okay, so we know where bloodlines of dogs are coming from, and genetics, and how to breed healthy dogs, keep dogs out of shelters, advocate for being good owners of dogs, and I give a lot of information on how to, okay? We keep dog products centered, balanced, weight-wise, like collars, leashes, harnesses, and I show how to do those things. I show how that alters the dogs, just like a human being wearing clothing. If our collars aren't centered, if our tops aren't fitting on our shoulders properly, if, there's things on our bodies, rotating our bodies, or just imbalancing them, the same thing happens to dogs. So we will have events often. Poodle Parade is what they're called. Poodle Parade events under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. The state of Utah, the United States of America, is where we're based, as in the Image Clothing Company, and there's so much beautiful nature, okay? That's what they are, is outdoor events, where I'll show a lot of information on dogs, letting them stay natural, information on, like, just you and your dog cohabitating, if you will, okay, as the owner of the dog, and it'll be a lot of really cool stuff. Things for the environment, like Clean the Creek events under Poodle Parades, okay, actually cleaning up trash. There will be a lot going on with those as time comes, so scheduling always under InTheImageClothingCompany.com, okay? The main side of In The Image Clothing Company, I also do events where I get together with people and discuss how the body works. The anatomy of the human body, I discuss it in depth. I show how to allow it to work. Free modifications in clothing, we talk about In The Image Clothing Company and what we are. So there you go, okay? Clothing for everybody has to sit in the same location, okay? Pants have to be entirely above the hips, so there's no restriction to the hips. Slightly higher in the front than the rear for the waistband angle, because that's just how our pelvis, which is our hips, naturally sits if nothing was ever restricting it. The only way we can keep our body activated as a whole, anywhere any of the body goes, all of it comes. And so it can only ever work as a whole, and it just would, if there wasn't alteration to it that builds up these chronic patternings and scar tissue, which is what we get out of under In The Image Clothing Company, and I show how to do that. And then the tops that we wear have seams on top of our shoulders. They need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders, because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. That's where they just connect the musculature to the bone, and the shoulders follow shoulder seams. Then the edges of our tops have seams, and they need to be right at the edges of the joint of our shoulder. Otherwise, the shoulder just can't function, because that's just where the functionality happens. Now, we have two things we call prerequisites under In The Image Clothing Company. Firstly, weaving ropes across the top of the human feet is what we call shoe lacing, but they're just ropes. There's only one way to do it that's shaped the way that the foot is, and that's what we title In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. And then we tie our shoes as well as human beings, and we have to tie shoes evenly on both feet, over toward the center line of the human body, because there's just two sides, and so it needs to be exactly opposite on both sides to be even, okay? And then secondly, we remove all tags from clothing as our other prerequisite. Tags are just decades new, if you will, as of today's date. They didn't exist in clothing in the past, and they just cause a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or just don't allow musculature to activate. Compensation tries to happen within the body at that point, and it can't, because everything has a role to play, so it can't just stop playing its role for any reason, okay? Without damage is the point. So, 142 in the Image Clothing Company Podcast's episode, Fine Wine. The thing with fine wine, meaning just, first of all, I don't drink alcohol, okay? But when people make wine, they usually just make it out of, most commonly grapes, okay? And you crush up the grapes, however it happens exactly, right? But the point is, the grapes and the juice within them, you'll let that sit and ferment, okay? That's what they call it, fermenting. It gets a little bit alcoholic, I guess is how we'll describe it, over time. And, it takes time for it to become wine. And they call it fine wine because it's had time to mature, if you will, time to grow in a sense, right? It's kind of like anything, really. that we can talk about that, gets better over time. Like practicing things makes you better over time, right? And a big thing I want to focus on in this episode, with Fine Wine being the title, is in the Image Clothing Company, it will only get better with time. And I want to say this in a way that's not me trying to sound like any certain way. What I'm doing here is giving information on what's to come. Okay. We will get better with time as in the Image Clothing Company because we will have a team and we'll actually have people able to help us with things. Because I've put in my notes, like where I type in my little device, video topics to make under any four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. Well, except in the Image Clothing Company music, it's normally just me playing music. It's not like a video topic, right? It's usually just freestyles of music with guitar and lyrics, right? When there are. But one thing I have written in my notes is stuff about our team, right? And I wrote a little note about segments or videos, series that our team can make, where employees and members of In the Image Clothing Company's team can actually go out and film videos on their own, talking with people about things in public, kind of like taking polls, right? To get awareness out of clothing, not for the sake of clothing, not for the sake of our sales necessarily under In the Image Clothing Company, but to allow the human body to work. So many people are in so much pain and deeply ingrained chronic patterning and scar tissue throughout their whole body in ways that a lot of people aren't even aware of. From ropes, like shoelaces and drawstrings, from oversized clothing, just inhibiting ranges of motion, and so many things, right? Imbalanced jaw location because of things placed into ears, like little things we listen to music through, or little, earplugs, dental work that's altered their jaw's position, and all these things that get ingrained through things like clothing imbalances. Yeah, man. And so we'll have a lot of segments like that in the ways that we do and when we do with the team under In the Image Clothing Company. Okay, our employees, the people who actually help with our products, we'll also have an actual building. In the Image Clothing Company, we're not just, and I'm not trying to be mean to other people, but I'm just saying it clearly as it is. We're not just one of those people who is going to place our logo on somebody else's clothing design and have somebody else make it and manufacture it, ship it out, and do all the processing for us. We'll have our own building and our own team actually working there. We will be doing stuff ourselves, as in the Image Clothing Company. It's going to be its own thing in all the ways, right? Like that. Because that's something I haven't talked about all that often, or all that much at all, even since the founding, since we've even been in the Image Clothing Company at all. So that's how it will be, though. We will have our own actual physical location, our own place where we have employees come and it'll be nice for them to work in. We'll have poodles that are there often, right? Like, there's a lot to come. So this is what I mean is over time, it will grow and it will get better. As of today's date, it's still been only Evan Strong, me, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. But this is the whole thing. You have to start with something. You can't have wine aging on a shelf, on a wine rack, in a bunker. I don't know exactly how or where they do it, right? But in a barrel, however it works, unless you first get the proper grapes that you're going to use for it, right? Get them all prepared properly, get it all sealed up how you're going to, and build that foundation. So as I've said, and as I've referenced before as the point, episode 100 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast is titled Laying a Foundation, and I'm still doing that. And in a sense, we're always doing that. I mean, just continually laying bricks, as I have talked about, It's everything we do is just another brick in the building of In the Image Clothing Company. And it's always just building because it's always growing, because it's always expanding, because more people are knowing about us, because we're deepening our understandings of what we do and doing things better and more efficiently as we go, right? So, yeah, before we can ever age the wine, okay, there has to be a very properly done like bottling process, if you will, right? And that's the whole thing is this wouldn't be able to be something that could get better with time if it doesn't start out with a good foundation. Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much how it works. You know, well, that's what it says. You know, every building is just as good as its foundation, right? We build our house on the rock of our salvation. The foundation is Jesus Christ. Rather than building our houses on sand or a sandy foundation where, you know, when the waves come up, they just wash the house away. So we have to have a good solid foundation for things to then be able to grow and age well and get better with time. Because if you just pick some pretty poor quality grapes and use those and bottle them up or, you know, however it works to start aging your wine, no matter how much time goes by, your wine can only ever get to be a certain quality. Okay? And take this with a grain of salt, meaning this isn't always how it is, because with something like a company, you can change things along the way if you didn't quite start it proper. But for the sake of me giving context on In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, as the founder, yeah, we have started this properly. So that's the whole point, is we're going to have this be able to get better with time, because now, as things add to this, we're already adding to something that's really good. A really good, solid understanding of what we are is a way I can phrase it. So, yeah, we'll get better with time. And I think that's just the big thing is the more we do, the more there is to come to, right? There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, If You Build It, They Will Come. And that's, I was talking a lot about, you know, similar things of each thing we ever do under In the Image Clothing Company is laying a singular brick in a building made of however many bricks, right? A lot of bricks make up a big building, but it all had to be laid one brick at a time. And so as we're doing things, we're just going to get better at it. But there is a level of like things have to be done at first before they can ever get better. I mean, you could never have wine be aging unless you do the process of, you know, picking the grapes and putting the grapes in the, you know, container or however it works, right? Again, I've never made wine, but yeah, I've also never founded a company until this either, right? So this is what I mean. There's that initial part where you can't drink the wine yet. You just put it into bottles. If you bottle it and then right away open it back up, you're just drinking plain grape juice. It hasn't had time to age yet. It hasn't had time to build and grow and ferment, in a sense, right? For wine, that's really what it does. But for In the Image Clothing Company, we need time to be seasoned in what we do. You know, I talk about how when I do things like freestyles, like lyricism, I say how I'm a seasoned veteran, right? Like, but I'll use it in lyricism while I'm like freestyling because I am. I've been doing it for like, shoot, give or take 12, 15 years. So that's the whole thing is at this point, yeah, I can just, you know, freestyle some lyrics and it can just happen really well because I've gotten better at it with time. But under In the Image Clothing Company, I think a big thing that kind of is specific to stuff like the gift of video, right, which is how I phrase it, is not that our videos are going to have to change over time to get better, but our initial videos and these ones here and like this one, episode 142 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Fine Wine, all of these they will need some time for people to realize what they are and realize the value that's in these, because surface level and at first you might be looking at the information that I was saying at the founding or even as of now, and right, because we're past the founding but we're always still founding, right? I'm always still just the founder of In the Image Clothing Company as far as the phrasing goes, right? Yeah, even when we're huge as far as spread and impact and people who are you know yeah, I'm always still just the founder, it's always still just what it is. But the point is, a lot of the information I was giving at first, those videos won't change. Like, if they're still there, it's still the same as if you were to have watched them when I first made them. But as time goes on, you'll be able to see, like, whoa, this is expanding. This is growing. This is getting even better as a company and as what they're doing. It's, like, understandable now. And then you go back and watch those first videos or first podcast episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, he was saying the same things back then, but now it just makes more sense because we've had time seeing that it works and time watching Evan Strong's body physically be transformed through what he's saying. And wow, yeah, now there is a whole team, and the team under In the Image Clothing Company are doing the things that In the Image Clothing Company has been talking about since the very founding. So all those videos at the beginning that, some people maybe have overlooked or something because they didn't really understand it. They thought, it might be just kind of a startup company type idea. Now, at that point when time has gone by, I guess is the point, right? When it's aged a little bit, when, yeah, it's gotten better with time, those videos will be the same, right? They haven't changed. The information in there hasn't changed. It hasn't become any less valid. But now you can see that it always was. Just like how you can see that at the beginning, those grapes that you put into your fine wine, yeah, they just taste like grapes, but they're the same thing as the fine wine. They've just needed time to mature and ferment and become the wine, right? So this is what I mean under In the Image Clothing Company, and this is what is so cool about it, is we have and always will be saying the same things since the very founding. Shoelacing technique under In the Image Clothing Company, tying shoes evenly over toward the inside, removing all tags, right? Those are our two prerequisites. Where clothing sits, pants above the hips, slightly higher in the front, exactly even waistband as long as we can, right? Like the slipped lap knot, tying the tail end toward the center of the body, tops with the seams behind the shoulders and the seams right at the edges of the shoulders. Like, those are our very foundational basic things because that's what I say in our intros when I do, right? But then we get in depth, and even those in-depth things, you'll be able to see as time goes by, credibility will build, and I've been thinking about making that episode titled Where the Credibility Comes. And maybe I just don't need to make one titled that specifically, but I just need to talk about it, and that's what I'm doing here in this one. Under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, fine wine, right? Episode 142. This is what I mean. Like, you'll be able to see as time goes on that, I'm still just the grape, if you will. And In the Image Clothing Company is still just the grapes at the beginning of the process of making the wine. But then, whatever time it is, once it's actually like something that's, what you could label as wine in the metaphoric way, right? It's like, wow, it's the same thing though. We just didn't really realize what it was, and it just needed some time to grow. And that's cool. It just is really cool. Yeah, it's so cool. It's just going to get better with time because that's what I mean about how it's kind of different a little bit with the gift of video. Those videos from the founding will actually be more impactful as time goes on because now you can look at them and be like, oh, wow. Yeah, he was saying these videos just to give context, to give understanding and information on this stuff. And now we have the contrast of seeing what comes from the information in those videos. So then it'll be like, shoot, yeah, holy cow, it's like a time capsule type of thing, you know? That's when it becomes fine wine. You put something in a time capsule that's like a double A battery, and nobody really cares so much about it in the moment. But then hundreds of years later, let's say, nobody uses double A batteries, and it's like, oh wow, they used to use these so often back then. This has aged so well, or whatever, right? You know what I mean? Just in a way where it's like, it means more as time goes on. So that's what we're doing here, dude, in the Image Clothing Company. And so that's the whole thing with me. Just keep, laying bricks. That's why I keep doing it. That's what's going to come from keep doing that. Every single video I make, every single podcast episode I make under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, every single little snippet of playing guitar that I post, if you will, or just film, right? Record. It's all going to really seriously mean more later down the road, right? It's like somebody who you know well, who's become really successful. You look at maybe like little video clips, like home videos, for example, or something of them when they were just a little kid, or photos of them, and it's like, wow, this is so cool to see because I know what they are now. And so to see where it's come from, it's like, holy cow, yeah. You see like the transformation, you see the journey in it. Yeah. So, yeah, and I've said it before, like everybody loves a good underdog story. And so that's the thing is everybody's going to be able to see, those who take the time to look and see, what has come from me just making all of these videos up until today's date. It's still just this little small cell phone device that's got a shattered back glass. Only the lowest quality camera out of the 3 that's on it is the one that works. It's got just tape across the back, keeping the glass on, right? And I bought it refurbished to begin with before I broke it in those ways. Well, before it broke within my possession. Okay, some of the things really were me that did it, and some of it just kind of broke. Anyway, yeah, I mean, you can just kind of cherish, like, there's a line from, regardless of what you think of him, okay, Eminem, the rapper, Marshall Mathers, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and I thought about it even before in the Image Clothing Company. It just related to my life so much. It's within a whole line, but it says, "Coming from humble beginnings, I'm somewhat uncomfortable winning." That's Eminem, Marshall Mathers. That's part of it, and yeah, right. I get that, and so that's what I mean is, well, like I say, everything we do under In the Image Clothing Company, it's centered and geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's the truth of all things. The only reason, the only way we're here is Jesus Christ designed us and this earth and placed us here. And the only way we get fulfillment in this life is glorifying God to the best that we can. Jesus Christ himself, right? So, in a lot of ways, just this whole hero's journey type depiction, if you will, way of seeing somebody's life just transform and change as they go. I couldn't do it myself, and I couldn't take credit for giving information on how the human body works when I didn't design it, right? As I say. So this is what I mean is, as time goes on, these videos will age and become sweeter in a sense, right? Become better and become more impactful. When we talk about, the scriptures, there's a lot of tasting like that. Taste and see that the Lord is good, right? Reaping the fruits of your labor, and then this metaphor, the fine wine. Yeah. Lehi's dream in the Book of Mormon when he partakes of the fruit that was sweeter, above any sweetness that could ever have been, right? Whiter than any whiteness that could ever have been. Just, just perfectly sweet fruit. That's the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? So there's a lot of metaphor of tasting things in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And yeah, so going along with this, with, the topic of aging things like fine wine, as time goes on, things become sweeter. They become tastier to us in a sense. They become more valuable to us because the credibility builds, our understanding of what they are deepens, and yeah, we like to watch journeys, like I'm saying, as human beings, because that's really what we're here to do is grow and expand in a way, meaning get closer to Jesus Christ. Become higher and holier as his law is when he delivered the Sermon on the Mount and he fulfilled the law of Moses, right? He gave a higher and holier law, a way of being that was more intentional, really is just, I mean, that we could boil it down to that word. And so as we go under In the Image Clothing Company and as more people see what we do, you'll see the intentionality I had from the very founding that may not have been able to be seen until now we have things that are, you know, just continuing to be as they were at the beginning, and it's just still working. And on a broader scale, on a bigger impact, right? To where people can now see like, oh, wow, yeah, all right. Okay, I mean, yeah, I could have been listening to what he was saying at the beginning, I guess, because it's the same stuff and it does work. Fine wine, right? It's gonna age. It's going to. It's going to just get better. And yeah, we're going to grow. It'll be so great to have a team and poodles. I mean, we're not just gonna have like two poodles that we just breed some, have a few litters from. As I've said, I'm pretty sure I've made it very, very clear many times as of today's date. But I mean, we're going to have a very proper breeding program under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. I keep saying, we're going to always be a big name in poodles in a lot of ways, more than just breeding. And, right, so, but we need a physical location to house the poodles. We need, yeah, people on our team that can do things that I just don't need to be doing as the founder in the role that I'm in, right? We'll have team members that are doing financial stuff, team members that are doing scheduling stuff, and I'll help with all the things that I do in the ways that I do. But people, employees that have very specific jobs so that this can just expand and grow and just get better with time. And as of now, I just don't have the income to be paying those employees. And we don't have the viewership amount for that to even be needed yet, right? So we also don't have the poodles yet to have the housing needs for keeping them and having the areas where the litters can be born and the puppies can be brought up and properly introduced to life. And right, we don't have manufacturing for our own clothing, In the Image Clothing Company clothing happening yet. So we don't need a building yet because we don't have enough sales yet we don't have any sales yet, right? And we need sales to be able to pay for the building and the electricity to have the building run. And do you see what I mean? All the resources to build the clothing, build it, right? Just, yeah. Do you see what I mean? Even dog products as well, right? Under In the Image Clothing Company, poodles, collars, leashes, harnesses, all the things we get into to do the same thing with human being clothing, same intent, right? Allowing the dogs' bodies to work, letting dogs stay natural. That's our slogan for In the Image Clothing Company poodles. So it will get better with time because we have to keep laying bricks. We have to keep building this for it to grow. If you want a big building, you can't just expect it to just pop out of nowhere. You have to keep building it. And with time, it gets to be a better building, more of a building, more of something that you can actually use with the intent of why you're building the building in the first place. In the Image Clothing Company will run itself from the inside. This is what I mean. The gift of video. These videos are something that can grow the company continually from just making one video. Because a video is something that we just do one time, and there it is. And then somebody views it, and another person views it, and another person views it, and another person views it. And maybe that person shares it with 4 other people who view it, who share it with 4 other people who view it, right? And then all of a sudden it's just expanding because we made one video. Versus something like clothing sales alone, which are going to be great, and we will do. I mean, that's fairly obvious, I guess, if you will. And if you know us, then yes, I mean, we are a clothing company. We are. That's what we are, truly. I mean, that's how we allow the human body to work. But with clothing sales, if nobody purchases the clothing, then nothing else comes from just one person purchasing clothing. Unless, like, they share it with another person, and the other person then purchases clothing as well, you know, as far as sharing what it is, or giving information on what In The Image Clothing Company is. Or people just seeing somebody wearing our clothing and liking it and then asking about it and then purchasing some themselves. With videos, it's something that we do one time, and one video can just kind of like, it's like stoking the fire from the inside, right? It can build on itself just because it itself can be viewed and viewed and viewed and viewed more and more and more times. Just one video alone. And as of today's date, we have many hundreds of videos. I just don't know how many for sure. Maybe 700 plus videos, probably, at least. Probably. Yeah. So that's what I mean, right? Is, yeah, we've probably got at least 700 videos. Oh, shoot. And that's just me alone. So this is what I mean. The team doing like team segment type videos, they can build videos, okay, meaning film videos. And, oh, shoot, man. This is what I'm saying is it has to grow. It has to age. And what I mean by it has to is we have to have time for it to. We have to allow it to. Just like the human body, you have to allow it to work. Or just being a little kid, you can't just be a full-grown adult out of like thin air, out of nowhere. You have to allow your body to grow, right? I remember being a little kid and I wanted to be tall, and now I'm 6'2" tall. Right? It's not really my choice, but just you have to wait. You have to let it happen. You only grow as a human being at the rate that you grow. You're not going to decide how fast you grow, right? There's like ranges of age when most people become full grown, right? A little bit different per type of people. Like men grow a little bit differently than women. You get full grown at a different age, like those type of things. But that's what I mean is stuff just takes time, and you have to let it just do its thing. You can't expect it to happen extra quick. You can't have the wine unless you let it sit and ferment. Okay. So, but that's the thing with the wine fermenting is it's all happening from the inside, right? You've sealed the bottle up, or whatever vessel container you're using to ferment the wine within. It's all happening from the inside. And so that's what I mean about In The Image Clothing Company. The way we do things here, it will grow itself, in a sense. Kind of like bread, it just rises from the inside, but it doesn't just rise instantly. You let it sit like overnight, right? Or however long you let bread sit to rise, okay, before you bake it. This is what I mean. Yeah, it's yeast, right? Yeast is in both wine and bread. It's something that just like grows and rises, but it has the rate of speed that it does that, and you have to let it. And so, yeah, In The Image Clothing Company is just going to continue to grow, and it'll be awesome. And that's the thing, even with the poodles, our first poodle, Nita, right? I don't even have her yet, but that's what her name will be. She'll be the head of the everything. Not only the breeding program, because I've said that, and that's the case, yes, but we're not only breeding poodles under In The Image Clothing Company poodles. There's a lot that we'll do. Yeah, so much. I've talked about a lot of it, what's to come so far, but it's gonna be crazy. But this is what I mean is it can't happen as far as, because we'll do so many events and a lot of varieties of events with poodles as well under The Image Clothing Company poodles. We'll take part in things that are just really big stuff. Okay, you'll see. I'm not making claims. That's what I mean. Is you'll just have to wait a little bit. I have to wait a little bit. We have to let it grow, because what I'm saying is we can't even have poodle parade events or any events with poodles under In the Image Clothing Company poodles with a decent amount of people until a decent amount of people even know what we are. But if there's not even stuff for them to check out to find out what we are, then they won't even know what we are, so they can't even come, right? It has to grow, and there is a certain amount of time that takes. There's a certain amount of work that takes along the way before these things can actually really happen the way that they will, the way that I'm discussing that they will, right? It just takes some time. So that is a big thing, and that's a big thing to see for me to explain and give information on it, because people probably don't really understand that. Just meaning you might not, right? I get it. Like, I talk about these events we'll have, and it's, some people might think like, well, why aren't you doing them yet if you're going to eventually do them? Well, because what I just said, we need to have enough of a foundation to where I can advertise for something that people can already know what it is before they come. If you're just advertising for something you're trying to do and nobody really has any idea what it is, and you're like, are you going to come? You better come, right? Yeah, come on. And they're like, but what is it? Can you explain to me a little bit of what I'm coming to? That's what a lot of what I said in that episode, if you build it, they will come, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But yeah, that's the point, is we have to let some of this age a little bit. We have to have a little bit of, I could phrase it as like time credibility behind me, to where it's not just some flash in the pan, right? That's what I say. Good things take time, and, we're doing eternal things here. The things we talk about will never change. I'm in it for the long haul, right? I'm playing the long game. In order to do all that, you have to allow some time to go by. Because then there's reference to look back on and be like, oh yeah, he's been doing the same thing for a while. Okay, he's got something actually going here. And it's not just like some trial and error thing, because in order to make wine, you don't just haphazardly, meaning like randomly, put concoctions of stuff together and, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try this, I'll try that. Wine can be what wine is nowadays because there's been hundreds of thousands, right? However long of years people have been making wine. So now there's all this background stuff that's happened, meaning wine production, for people now to just know how to do it, okay? There's all these background videos, all this background documentation, all these background explanations that me, Evan Strong, have given of In the Image Clothing Company, to where when we do start to have things like events, there's all this stuff that has aged, okay? This stuff that has been there, like, okay, yeah, he's been talking about this. Now we know, okay, yeah. So he's actually been planning this for quite a while. So he at least to a degree will know what he's doing, right? If we come to these events, it's not just like he's trying out something. It's like, no, he's been really working on this. He's been really aging this, right? You drink some wine and it's like, oh, you've really had this been fermenting for, some time. This is good wine, rather than, wine that just hasn't had time to become fine wine, okay? So this is a beautiful way to describe this. This is a beautiful way to not explain myself, I just want to say it clearly, but to give an explanation on why things look the way they do. Why we're about 10 months into In the Image Clothing Company, and we have no products to sell, and we have no events that we've had yet. Yet I've been talking about both of those things for quite some time, okay? These are the reasons as to why. Because this is something that will last. And in order for it to, it needs to be structured in a way that it's going to be able to. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And there you go. Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be really cool. Because what people can do as well is just see, like, how real it really is. I say the phrase, it's as real as it gets under In the Image Clothing Company a lot. And that's the thing is, I'm sitting on carpet on the floor of a bedroom in a house that I just am living in for free out of the grace of all that is giving me grace, right? My grandparents have allowed me to be here. God has given me this time and all that has happened in this time. You know, I'm just doing this like that little line I said, you know, from Eminem, coming from humble beginnings, I'm somewhat uncomfortable winning. But the good thing about it is that then one day when we are very successful, because we will be, I've been saying it since the founding, and you'll see, under In The Image Clothing Company, you'll be able to look back and it's not just like I just stumbled on some success, but these videos will age like fine wine. And you'll look back and maybe you're somebody who's wanting to start something, but you don't really have much besides a broken little device to film something with and a bedroom floor to sit on and just a park where you can stand there and film videos. Because that's where I started all this with. And then now look where we are, okay? Whatever date it is that you're watching this or listening to this episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, because they are available in both visual plus audio and audio only. That's what I mean. These ones will age because, wow, look where he started. And look what he's accomplished since then. Because I've been able to see people. Yeah. Roman Atwood is one of them. And I've been able to watch his journey, and it is so inspiring because he just didn't give up. He just kept going, right? Just keep swimming. Disney, Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, in both movies, Dory sings that. She's like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. You just gotta keep going. And there you go. You know, if you get impatient with the wine, it's like, it's been so long, it seems like, but it's not long enough for the wine to become fine wine. You try to take it off the shelf or out of the cellar or whatever, right? And try to drink it. It's not going to be good wine yet, right? If I just thought that this needed to happen sooner than it's just going to, sooner than God has this plan to work and to become what it needs to, but then again, it's there's no end point. I mean, everything we ever do is just laying a brick in the building of In The Image Clothing Company. Forever, even after I'm gone, as long as this continues to be run by somebody, every single thing you ever do is just a brick laid in your building of whatever it is you're working on. But, yeah, you know, if I just, you know, had any expectation for this to go any quicker than it's just going to happen and didn't just keep going with it, well, you know, I'd cut myself off, if you will. And it wouldn't just have enough time and enough time. Time is the big one. We're so impatient a lot of times as human beings. We have to be okay with good things taking time because that's just how it works. Like, you know, good things come to those who wait, right? Good wine only comes from time fermenting. So it's going to take some time for In The Image Clothing Company to be, you know, profitable through clothing sales, profitable through dog product sales, to have our own actual physical building, to have our team, and to have the poodles that we will to the degree of, you know, our substantial breeding program. Okay? So this is what I mean. It's going to age. It's going to get better with time. And you'll just see it, right? That's what I say. You don't have to believe me, anything I ever say, but things just line up. Things just happen. And there you go. I mean, we think about people in the past who are like these great people. And during their life, maybe nobody really thought all that much of them. But as time went on, these people, their stories, their lifestyle, what they did has aged. It has become like fine wine. And now we talk about people in history hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, as if they're like these great people who have done such amazing things. But it's only being discussed that way after a certain amount of time has gone by. And even Jesus Christ, in the time people didn't really listen to the words of God when he was speaking them to them personally. In those 33 years when he was here, it really was only the last little part of his life where he was really, really, doing the bulk of his ministry. But a lot of people just didn't really realize what they had with them. They didn't realize what was going on. They didn't really care so much to hear the words of God out of the mouth of God. But now it's thousands of years later, about 2,000 years, and give or take, a whole third of the earth are Christian, disciples of Jesus Christ. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes time. It's time. Time is the big thing. Time is the hard thing for us as human beings, because we only have so much of it in this life. But we have to be willing and okay to let things take time. Okay with things just being time consuming, and we have to be okay with having a little bit of patience and having some faith. That's why I focus on faith so much, because it's really all that there is. You have to have faith that even though you're not seeing the results that are going to come down the road yet, they're going to come down the road. And you just have to keep going. And sometimes with what seems like no compensation in the moment or in the instant, we have to work toward good things. To have a good marriage down the line, you have to work toward being a good person now who can be a good husband to that woman, or be a good wife to that man, right? I mean, this is just how it works as human beings. Is growth takes time. You can't grow just in the blink of an eye. You just can't, I mean, trees take time to grow. You want a big tree in your yard? Unless you plant it as a big tree because it already grew that way and you transplanted it, you plant a tree and it starts as a seed, right? We talk about a mustard seed of faith. A mustard seed meaning just a very small little seed. You plant it in the ground and you nourish it and you let it grow and you take care of it, you water it and prune it and do all that you need to, and it takes time. And then it just becomes a very, very large, good, healthy, long-lasting tree. Okay. Good things take time. We have to allow things to ferment, allow things to grow, allow things to take root. There's a lot of parables in Scripture about, taking root in the truth, in the gospel of Jesus Christ. There's that one about, it's like it's a seed that begins to grow roots, and one of the seeds gets tangled up by the weeds and the vines, and they overtake it, and one gets thrown in sandy soil and it doesn't have a good foundational, healthy earth to grow in, and so it doesn't make it. And one gets thrown in just like a shallow area of soil or whatever it was, right? Exactly. And the sun scorches it and burns it up. But then, you put a seed into good ground and it grows deep, solid roots, and it lasts. And it's tethered to the earth. It's solid. It's got a firm foundation, right? So then from there, it can take time and really, really grow, okay? If you see some big, beautiful climbing trees, for example, in life, if you like to climb trees, right? Or just some really big trees that are offering good shade, or you need to build a house and you need a lot of lumber. It comes from big trees. Those trees didn't grow overnight. They had to ferment, in a sense, like the wine. They had to take time to grow. You look in a tree, if you cut off the trunk, and there's rings in a tree, like ripples in a pond, and you can count those rings and see how old the tree is, because each season there's new growth and it's another ring of the tree. Things take time. If you want a good, really big, strong, well-rooted tree, you have to let it grow. You have to be patient enough with it for it to become that big tree. Okay. So today's the 4th of July. Yeah, it's Independence Day. My birthday's tomorrow. I'll be 26 on the 5th of July, 2025. I'm going to see the live action Lilo and Stitch movie by Disney. I really, really, really appreciate Lilo and Stitch. At least the older ones. I haven't seen the new one. I'm going to just go by myself to the theater. It'll be great. I love it. I love doing things alone a lot of the time. I prefer it a lot of the time, depending on what it is and, the situation. But yeah. So, yeah, there you go. Okay. Episode 142 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Fine wine. Okay. It's one of those things where I want to say it in a way that kind of sounds like I'm saying the phrase, I told you so. But I don't want to say it in a way that's like mean or prideful, but I want to say it in the way where it's like, you could have started listening to this at the beginning and it would have been the same as if you started listening to it like 5 years into In the Image Clothing Company, for example, right? But that's what I mean is just as time goes on, it'll have so much behind it from within, right? Growing from within, backing itself from within, the credibility's coming from within when it comes to In the Image Clothing Company. Like our God himself, Jesus Christ. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever, just as the information of allowing the human body to work under In the Image Clothing Company is the same from the founding to whenever. Okay. Over time of disciples of Jesus Christ following Jesus Christ, which is what disciple means, is a follower, a student, then credibility comes because we're able to see what happens in the life of those that do follow to the best of their ability the teachings and example of our perfect example, God himself, Jesus Christ. And so those who listen to the information we give under In the Image Clothing Company and start to do the things that we show to allow the human body to work, because we just discuss it as it is, the mechanical machine that only has the operations it does, these people who are doing these things, their bodies will just start to work and transform really only back to God's design, right? The ridding of scar tissue, the ridding of chronic patternings, meaning, getting rid of these things. Then the credibility will come, and then it's like, whoa, yeah, this is great information. This is good stuff. This is stuff that we can do for the rest of our lives and teach our kids and our kids' kids, right? We can all say that, is what I mean. Even myself, my own kids will have the information that we give under In the Image Clothing Company. And so from birth, they won't even be able to be getting into chronic patternings and scar tissue to have to get out of later, right? But, it just takes time to learn these things. Things just take time, okay? We have to be okay with it. So there you go. Okay, I'm in it for the long haul. And you'll see that that's how it works, because that's just how it works. That's just always how it works. Because God is eternal, and God is the God of all, meaning the creator of all this, the one who decides how it all works. And so the whole goal is eternal life, meaning just living forever, doing things that last forever, having a lifestyle that's full of things that last forever. That's, yeah, fine wine. It's the truth of all things, the gospel of Jesus Christ. So it's going to be awesome, though, to have so many poodles. Yeah. Intertwined in everything we do on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm not going to cut it yet. I tried to cut it premature. Just think about this. Think about the team members and just all the poodles we have. I mean, if we're breeding poodles, we're just going to have litters coming when we do. Lots of poodles. And we can keep poodles in the ways that we can and put them into our program. you just, don't want to be interbreeding, the same bloodlines of dogs with dogs from like the same families, right? Like human beings. But in the ways that we can keep dogs from our litters and put them back into our breeding program. And we can bring dogs from other people into our program as well in the ways that we do. Just meaning we're just going to have quite a lot of dogs, okay? Standard size poodles. And so just picture the team and them doing things like I was saying, the team segment videos. We send them out with a camera, and give them an idea of a video. Oh shoot, man. And just there's so much done through video just on the earth nowadays with the ways that we share videos. It's just so easily done and so commonly done. So the poodles are just so much part of the team. It's strange to say, yeah, just as much as the human being employees, the poodles will always be team members of In The Image Clothing Companies. This is why it's so cool. This is what I mean by over time, you'll see what I'm doing with this. You'll see why I laid it out the way that I did, and you'll see why it's taken some time. Yeah, you'll see, because I'm doing it how it needs to be done to last. It's so cool. Just stick around for the poodles. I mean, picture me playing some kind of beautiful fingerstyle guitar, and it's filmed in like a pretty nature location, and I've just got poodles sitting next to me or playing next to me, and you can watch it and listen to it, and it can be like a lullaby type thing, right? This is what I mean. I'm building something here that's huge for the sake of what it can do for people in their lives, man. The lives of everybody that comes in contact within the Image Clothing Company. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Just continually deepening how awesome it is. Continually fermenting, continually aging like fine wine. And it's going to be so cool to be able to come back and listen to these before any of this stuff has ever happened. I mean, and then once it does happen is what I mean. Like, wow, he really was saying it as it was. He knew what was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, I did. So much with music, so much with poodles. That's what I mean. We're only allowed to do the amount that we're allowed to do right now with not having any poodles yet. With not having our own building, that's a big one. We will actually have an amazing building, kind of like a warehouse, kind of like a manufacturing place, but a really good place to be. The employees will love it. We'll make it like a homey kind of place. That's what I mean. It's so much bigger than just some company. It's so much bigger than just clothing. It's so much bigger than just like having a party that we call a poodle parade event. It's many of them, and it's for many reasons. Oh, shoot. And you'll just see it. You don't have to believe it. But you do have to wait a little bit. So do I. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll help people with hiking, being able to physically do it. Just being able to get out of chairs and get upstairs and downstairs and have better behaved dogs. Will help people understand nature better and what they can do for the environment out of their own doings. Oh my gosh, this is what I mean. It's crazy. Everything that we'll do is more than probably anybody has any idea of as of today's date. under In The Image Clothing Company, all that we're going to do, oh my gosh. I mean, teaching people how to eat in a way that is going to be able to be done for the rest of their life and change every meal they ever have and their approach to it. You know, getting better night's sleep every single night that they do sleep, which is every night, right? I mean, unless you just really don't sleep for a night or two. Like this is really what we are, and this is how real it is. This is how big it is. And I'm just gonna keep laying my bricks, building this building of In The Image Clothing Company. And I'm just not gonna stop my whole life. Okay? And it's just going to get better with time. Yeah. I will say this, just express my gratitude for all the information that I've given up until now for the sake of, the credibility. I've been saying it all since the founding. So when it happens, you'll know. I had a vision. You know, I talk about Lehi in the Book of Mormon being a visionary man. And a lot of people, including his own wife, you know, they had a hard time with it. You know, Abraham was visionary, you know, Abraham and Isaac, that Abraham, you know, Father Abraham, if you will, the one, you know, the Abrahamic covenant. Yeah, I'm not trying to like claim to be a prophet. A lot of people have a lot of things that they know will happen and they talk about it and people just kind of overlook it. They don't really give it much thought or attention, and then it does happen and they're like, whoa, how did this happen? And the person's like, well, I've been saying it was going to, right? I mean, we're just allowed to know things when we are, before they happen. Right? I mean, just like, you know, that just placing those grapes into the bottle or the vessel, you know, and doing the process to start the wine fermenting process, you know they're going to become wine. And if, you know, somebody doesn't know how wine gets made and you just throw some grapes in a bottle, basically, right? I know there's more to it in the ways that there is, but, you know, it's like, and there's probably a lot to it, really, but you know, you tell the person this is going to become a whole different thing than it is currently. It's going to become wine, a drink. It's going to be fermented and taste like this, and it's going to have its own flavors. And they're like, all right, dude. You know, and you're not trying to like prophesy something. You're just saying something that they don't understand yet. But if you know, they come and look at it once it's fermented and once it's become the wine, then they're like, yeah, you were right. I mean, it did what you said, you know? So that's what I mean with all this. I'm not trying to prophesy about some, you know, like I'm telling the future. I'm just, there are some things that I know will happen and they just will. And you'll see it. Don't believe it, right? Like Bruno Mars says, don't believe me, just watch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, you know, when I talk about working with other brands and other companies of things, you know, just wait. Just wait. Good things take time. People also like to see people who are dedicated. They like to follow a journey of somebody who's dedicated. That's what I was saying, a lot of what I was saying about Roman Atwood. Yeah, his company Smile More. And you know, he just started out making videos on you know, just the platform he was placing videos onto. He didn't know, as far as I'm aware, that he was going to start a company called Smile More. And then, you know, he has products that he sells and he has his own building, you know, and he's done events across the earth in the places that he has, you know. I mean, things just take time to build, but really what it takes is just persistence, dedication, having a vision because you know it's what you need to do and just doing it. You know, in the Book of Mormon, it says, "Inasmuch as ye keep my commandments, you will prosper in the land. And inasmuch as ye do not keep my commandments, you will be cut off." And so that's what I was saying earlier about I'd be cutting myself off if I just stopped. If I didn't just keep swimming, like Dory from, Finding Nemo, Finding Dory says. Disney. I love Disney so much. A lot of beautiful messages in Disney. I've talked about Disney many times on past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Yeah, I mean, you just have to keep going. You just have to let that bottle of grapes sit and ferment. It takes time. Okay. So thank you.